So today, classic football weather, dreary, snowy-ish, cold. Do you feel at home?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I hate the cold. I'll be honest with you. I was telling a friend of mine the other day, the only time you're gonna catch me out in the cold if it's a game that I'm coaching in, right? If it's not a game that I'm coaching in, I'm not gonna be outside in the cold.
That's kind of hard for a Hazelwood guy to admit
It
to.
it is, but it's that way.
Coming off a 14-0 championship season. You got the ring? Got the ring on you?
No, I don't wear it. I haven't worn. I don't think I've ever worn it. Other than the day that I got it. You got to move on. Something I learned from Coach Saban a while ago. You gotta move on and get to the next thing and start the process all over again.
When did you and Nick Saban cross paths?
Oh, about 4 years ago, just through recruiting, and we've been able to develop a solid relationship as he continues to recruit some of our guys. But just a wealth of knowledge and information, and you really get an understanding for why his program has been what it is. If you ever get an opportunity to be in his space.
Across the country, coaches like Saban knowing more and more about scholarship high.
Yeah, we've been blessed, and we've had some really good players, and we've done a good job getting some notoriety for those guys and getting them opportunities to play at the next level and giving them chances to move on. And so we've been able to build some relationships with some of the premier programs in the country.
I think you're one of the first coaches I've read about who took away Twitter privileges. How did that go?
Well, I mean, they did something that they shouldn't have done, and I caught it, and I had to deal with the situation. I can tell you what, they were more upset about Twitter than they would have been if I would have made them run 5 miles, right? I could have made them run. I could have put them on the steps or the hills. Taking away Twitter actually hurt them more than anything.
Just like you and me back in the day.
Yeah, right.
Also read, we're going to bounce around a couple things, but when it comes to your players, I love the way that you help them get to college. I love the way that you focus on them individually. A general question, you don't let your players kneel, and that has a recruiting ramification in your mind.
Well, I think that in that situation, when you're talking about whether they're kneeling before games or not, and kind of understanding that decision or that situation is they're going to go into environments um, with people that are going to deal with them a certain way based on them making that decision. And I believe when they're grown men, they can make that decision for themselves, and I will support them in whatever aspect that they wanted to do. But right now, you would be putting yourself in games where referees are going to have to make a lot of judgment calls. You just will be putting yourself in the situation to where you're harming yourself, and and I don't think at that young of an age you can make that decision yet.
17 plus years, man. You having fun still?
Yeah, it's still a lot of fun. I mean, it's like anything else. The day you stop having fun, you probably need to step away from it. It's still a great time, still love the game. The kids are still listening to me for now. So, as long as that goes on, I guess we can keep it rolling.
What'd you do today that you had a lot of fun with?
Well, today I didn't really have much fun. I haven't had much fun yet. My kids will get in here in about an hour to lift weights. It's been a little off because we typically in the past have always done it at 6 in the morning, and we kind of missed that. But now with the virtual hybrid learning and a lot of them being online for class and whatnot, you can't do the 6 a.m. deal. So they're coming up here in the evening. So I'll get to see most of them for the first time here when I get done with you. And that's when we'll start having a little fun together.
Is it you that misses the 6 a.m. or is it the players that are missing the 6
It's probably me,
a.m.?
more so than them. They may not miss it, but I sure do.
How's the COVID? Like last year, everything was on pause. You got your season done. Congratulations, by the way, first championship since '99. There's been a lot
Well,
of great North teams between last year and '99, but you got the job done. How's COVID carrying over into this year, do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure. One thing about COVID is you don't know. You got to kind of take it week to week almost, right? Because you never know how it's going to end up or what decisions are going to be made, and you don't really know who's making those decisions. We just show up, and as long as they don't tell us we can't show up, then we'll keep showing up. And if something changes, I'm sure somebody will let me know.
Coach, I'm not trying to make a joke. I'm just saying if your middle linebacker gets COVID, isn't the entire team shut down?
Whoever was in contact with them, yeah,
They're
yeah,
in contact with everybody.
yeah. When you get to dealing with contact tracing, it can get pretty dicey.
You grew up in Hazelwood, correct?
Yes.
Where did you go to stay out of trouble in Hazelwood?
When I was growing up, it wasn't as much trouble out as it is today. It was a little safer, and it wasn't as much of the wild stuff going on that goes today. But my teammates and I, we were so focused on playing football and being good at that, that kept us pretty busy. And we were just really in our sports and things of that nature. And so we worked really hard at it, and that mentality has carried us through life.
Where'd you go to have fun?
Now, if I tell you where I was to have fun, man, we may have to put this conversation on HBO or something, man. When I was young, man, and some of the things we did for fun, I wouldn't recommend anybody do today. We had a wild time, no.
We had Anthony Bonner on. He was talking about some skating rink that was out near Northwest Plaza.
He's probably talking about Saints. He's talking about Saints skating rink.
Do we have a Saint story?
No, man, I'm not gonna get into any of that. But I've been through there a couple of times when I was a young guy, and we just leave that there.
Carl Reed Jr. What did Carl Reed Sr. do?
Carl Reed Sr. He worked at Lou Fuse. He was a sales manager at Lou Fuse Automotive Dealership.
Did you guys have a good relationship?
We have a great relationship. Talk to him every day. Very instrumental in all the success that I've had in life.
What'd your mom do?
Engineer at Boeing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's there's some brains going on in there.
Yeah, she's got all the brains. Me and my dad are just regular guys.
Any brothers or sisters?
One brother. He's 6 years younger than me.
What's he do?
He's played basketball in Europe, so he's in the Hall of Fame at Austin P as a basketball player. He plays basketball in Europe, and he's done that for about 12 years, and I think last year was his last year playing, so he's got to kind of figure out what he wanted to do next. He's in the Hall of Fame.
He wants to be an offensive coordinator.
No, I mean he's a basketball player. He don't want to be an offensive coordinator. He might want to get into doing a basketball coaching maybe, but that'll be about it.
I bet he thinks he could do it.
He thinks he can do anything.
You went to Austin P, correct?
Yes, I did.
What was that like, man?
It was a great time. I made a lot of relationships, a lot of lifelong relationships. We definitely had a great time in college. It was a great deal. We didn't win a lot of football games while I was there, but I enjoy watching the success that the program is having today, and it was a great time for me. I still go back there as often as I can. It was just an unbelievable place and an unbelievable time in my life.
When did you graduate from Central?
1999.
Okay, so when I was growing up, Central was a factory. Van Zant, Mario Johnson, those kind of guys. I don't remember what kind of program was it when you were going through.
The factory was still rolling, baby. It was still rolling. The Mecca we are very proud of Hazelwood Central. We're very proud of our football program and our football tradition. Um, One of my very good friends, Kerry Davis, is the head coach now, and he's going to push it back to a championship level. We're all of us who played there are tremendously proud of the Hazelwood Central program and all it's done for us over the years.
Coach, I'm going to sidetrack a little. I actually was friends with Tony, Mario. Um, when people are critical of 18, 19-year-old athletes doing things they think they should not do, I have a hard problem when they don't realize they don't know those shoes. They haven't walked in those shoes. I remember Tony on my dorm room every day, girl knocking on his door, free McDonald's. Come on, Tony, just open up. Let me give you some time. When they're critical of what they don't know, I get very frustrated with that. How do you look at those situations, and what frustrates you about that?
I don't get frustrated about what people think. Um, people have their own level of understanding, and I understand that most people don't know what they're talking about, and they don't have any real knowledge. So I really don't waste my time getting into what people think about situations that that really don't concern them. I think that everybody's better off minding their own business. But no, I'm not bothered by people's opinions. I don't really pay any attention to them, to be honest with you.
I would imagine that philosophy bears well when you're talking to your 17 and 18-year-old kids.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're going to do things and they're going to make decisions that kids make. We were all kids once, so if you can draw back on that time in your life, on some of the things you were doing, I certainly don't want them doing what I was doing when I was 17 and 18, and a lot of issues, but they are going to make some of those mistakes. And, I think that people in general, when those things do happen, they become very judgmental of those guys. But, I'm not moved by other people's opinions when I'm dealing with my kids on issues that they're having.
For people who are listening and watching this right now, Coach, a lot of them probably because they're fans of yours, maybe some overtimers who aren't familiar with what you do. This is what you do. This is what Carl Reed Jr. does for his players that want to play football in college. You get them scholarships.
Well, they get their self scholarships with the work they do on the field and in the classroom. I try to position them um, in a way that it maximizes their exposure. But they have to do the work. They have to play extremely well. They have to be serious about what they're doing in the classroom. They have to focus. They have to play big in big moments. But I'm very proud of the success that many of them are having.
What, about 3 years ago, you started taking little field trips and getting them in front of other coaches?
No, we've been doing that for years, man.
Okay.
I've been doing that for over 15 years. I've been doing that a long time.
What led to where you currently are at Lutheran North? So, graduated from Central, played at Austin Pay. P. What was your first gig out of college?
So I did, let me see. I've been all over the place, man. I coached at Northeast High School in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Hmm.
I coached at a school called Pioneer Christian Academy. I coached a little football and basketball there. I came back and got the head job at University City. Um, then I went to Hazelwood West, and then I came to Lutheran North from Hazelwood West.
Are you married?
Yes,
When did you get? How long ago have you been married?
I've been married about 4 years now.
Okay, so that's since Lutheran North.
Yes.
How'd you meet the lovely bride?
Facebook.
Ha! No way.
Yeah, Facebook.
Friend of a friend?
No, man, just inbox diving, man. Just diving off in inboxes, man.
You got to work for it.
You got to work for it, man.
What was the first date?
The first date, you asking me? I can't even remember now, man. I should remember this. I hope my wife does not see this video. I think we went to Cicero's in U City. Um, I was still the coach at U City then. Yeah, we went to Cicero's down in the Loop.
Do you remember how you proposed?
Uh, we just at the house, man. It wasn't a real big, it wasn't a real big to do.
And are you, again, full license to change your mind? Are you looking to stay in high school for a while, be a Bob Shannon kind of a guy? Are you going to be more maybe like Corey Patterson if the right conversation takes place?
Well,
Not to make Crusader fans nervous, I'm just asking.
I think in life, each person's lane is their own. I'm sure that Coach Shannon had opportunities to coach in college, and at those points in his life, he decided that staying at East St. Louis and CBC was the right thing for him. Corey is one of my best friends, so the situation with Illinois presented itself, and he took it. You really just, what I've learned in this profession and in anything you do, you have to be where your feet are, right? You can't look ahead, you can't look back. Right now, what I try to do is be the best football coach for Lutheran North that I can be every single day, and so I'm always firmly 100% where my feet are.
What about coaching high school football do they not tell you about that you find out pretty quick?
That you're going to do more counseling than you are coaching.
Hmm.
That you're going to be more of a psychiatrist. That you're going to be more of a family counselor. You're going to be dealing with a lot more. You're going to be an academic advisor. You're going to be, you're going to be a father figure. You're going to be doing so many more things um, than just coaching. You're going to probably spend the least amount of your time coaching.
Unfair question. Where's the line between helping a kid whose family isn't there for them, but then also not overstepping your bounds?
Well, I don't know. You know, maybe you overstep sometimes. Maybe I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to help the kid, right? And I'm gonna push it as far as I need to push it. I do think that I have a tremendous relationship with all the parents in my program, so uh, we have never had any of those type of issues where you get into arguments and things like that. So we're really a big family, but I think that you have to do what's necessary to help the kid in whatever situation they're in.
I got 3 kids, right, coach?
Mm-hmm.
Not football, basketball, 2 girls, 1 boy.
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle helicopter parents?
Parents don't bother me like they bother other people,
Okay.
right? Like I know that some coaches are really bothered by parents, but my parents, they call me all the time. I've had 2 call me since I've been doing this interview with you. I'm sitting here looking at my phone. A parent actually just walked in here. Um, Man, we just super close and we just communicate the issues. I have 3 sons, and when they're doing things or playing sports in school, I like for people to communicate with me what's going on. You have to understand. I think you just understand that a parent with their kid what they want, and you got to be willing to have those conversations, and you got to show each other respect in the way that you communicate. But I don't understand why any coach would have a problem communicating with the parents.
You know, coach, as we get a little bit into this interview, you are like king of the sound bites. Everything you say is like 13 seconds or less. So here's the tricky part. You're sitting down with the parent, and within 30 seconds, you're like, well, I know what the problem is. It's you. How do you deal with that?
You just, I mean, it depends on. That's a pretty broad question, because my kids don't give me many problems, right? So, like a lot of the nightmares that you hear about or you read about, I'm telling you, I don't experience those kind of things. So I don't have like angry, irate parents. We don't have like, if a kid does something or has an issue that I have an issue with, I'm gonna call their parents myself and bring them in, and we're gonna meet and we're gonna talk about it. It's probably never gonna get to the point where everybody is so upset that we're having, a end of the road, or we at, our last which kind of meeting. We're just very communicative. And I look at the situation with the parents more as a partnership. I don't look at it as an adversarial situation like a lot of other people do.
I wrote down one thing I wanted to make sure that I answered or asked you. Do you know who Rich Gray was?
Yeah, a legend in the sports and basketball community here.
All right. So
He's
one of the
so
things I do in St. Louis for this podcast is everybody's got to know who Rich Gray is.
Mhm.
Most people know from the Eagles and what he did on the basketball side of things.
Mhm.
But if you wouldn't mind, take as long as you want, Coach. Give me a Rich Gray story or something people should know about Rich Gray.
So Rich Gray, years ago, I was coaching basketball. This would have been in 2007, 2008. During that time, and they used to have a tournament here called the St. Louis Eagles Invitation. That was only for 8 of the top Nike teams in the country. And I had a really good team that I was coaching that summer in basketball, and they needed an extra team. And Vince Estrada and Rich allowed me in the tournament, being a local St. Louis guy. And we weren't a Nike team, but they treated us very first class. I got an opportunity as a young guy to really get around Rich and kind of see the impact that he had on kids and kind of the impact that he had on the community as a whole and athletics. And it was a great experience for me, and it was a great opportunity for me to learn and take on some of the wisdom that he had. I was really good friends with a lot of guys that played for him in the Eagles growing up, and he was just an unbelievable asset to the community in every kind of way possible.
Would you happen to have a Lou Patu story?
You know, Lou Patsu been around a long time, man. You know, Lou Patsu's been around a long time, and he was another guy when I was really doing a lot of basketball that I interacted with a lot. He was just a great guy. He was always willing to help, and he was another guy that was a tremendous asset to our community.
I can't remember, Coach, the name of the place, but there was that cheap steak place on the Rock Road where everybody used to meet once a week and kind of get together. Do you remember? It was like a wheelhouse or it was something. Do you have any
You
idea
know,
what I'm
I,
talking
I,
about?
I'm a little bit younger than all of those guys, so I wasn't invited yet to those meetings. I hadn't reached that level of prestige yet to get brought into those meetings at the steakhouse. But I have heard that it was an epic time.
Oh, kid you not, it wasn't my prestige. I was riding Earl Austin's coattails.
Earl Austin, man, another great guy. Earl, I was telling Earl the other day. Well, not the other day. Last time we talked, you know, I was actually on his St. Louis All-American team when I played at Central. So, you know, to see him, he's still covering guys the same way that I'm coaching, the way he covered me when I was playing, man. It's great to see Earl still thriving the way that he is.
So I haven't told this before. Here's my Earl Austin story. I've got a couple of them, but this is the one for today. KASP was the first all sports radio station in St. Louis, before KFAM, before everybody else. Rich Gray was the general manager of KASP and whatever. I think it was KWK was the FM radio station. So Sunday mornings, 8 a.m., Earl Austin and I would host a high school recap show. Earl knew what he was talking about. I was just reading box scores. So I would read the box score. And then Earl would tell me about the kid's the kid's uncle and where he came from and the pedigree and what he played like when he was a sophomore. So Earl's been a walking encyclopedia for about 25 plus years now.
Oh yeah, he knows all the people. He knows the family. He's as connected as anybody you want to meet.
I listened to your podcast. Love the title, by the way. Run up the score. There's somebody who doesn't have a problem. Just throwing it out there. You had Lorenzo Brinkling on, right?
Yep.
One of the things you talked about was the resurgence of Missouri football.
Mm-hmm.
It's all cyclical, but that right now there's a time, it seems like there's a time going on right now where Missouri football is really higher up the food chain than it's been in a while. Do you think that's because Missouri joins the SEC and just more people start to come through Mizzou now?
Well, joining the SEC definitely shined a light on the state of Missouri as a whole because the SEC is the top football conference in the country. And so the exposure that the kids get from playing in a state that's a SEC state. It opened us up to the rest of the SEC schools recruiting. And so throughout the country, if the SEC is recruiting you heavily, then you're going to start to get everybody else. So it definitely helped advance recruiting a little bit and bring some exposure to it.
Participation numbers are down. How are we going to fix that?
I don't know how you fix it. Not as many kids are playing football as they used to. It's a lot more things going on now. We didn't have social media. You got it's a kid that I used to coach that's a YouTube star now. Like, you have a lot of other things going on that kids have access to that we didn't have as kids. So it's a different deal. It's a different era. I don't know that it can ever be like it was, but I think, like in anything in life, you have to be willing to move on and deal with things as the way they are now.
I also heard you talk about not liking the early signing period in February.
You mean the one that they do in December? Yeah, I
Yeah.
hate it. I hate the early signing period. Most people that know me know that. I mean, it's just too many coaching changes that happen after those group of kids signed until the next signing day. But when they made that decision, they didn't ask me what I thought.
Now,
So
how
like,
come they didn't ask you?
so like anything else, you just kind of got to deal with it and adjust and adapt to the situation.
You would rather that the kids sign financial aid agreements.
Well, I think you're talking about two different things now. All right.
Thank
I
you.
think that the kids who are in a position to choose the school they want to go to. So only a few kids get to choose where they want to go, right? Most kids have to go where somebody gives them an opportunity. But you have a small select group of kids that are the higher end players that they can choose wherever they want to go. And the issue of coaching changes. My advice to them would be to sign a financial aid agreement, but I would not sign a national letter of intent. I wouldn't do that because that's what binds you into the school. And so if you sign a financial aid agreement, it activates your financial scholarship. But if that coach leaves, you don't have to go to that school. You can go somewhere else. And that's what I would do if I was a kid who was at the upper echelon of prospects.
Coach, I apologize for the following stupid question I'm about to ask you. How come the national letter of intent cannot include a phrase or a line that says, unless the coach who recruited you is no longer there?
Well, I don't think that anything could happen, but I don't think that is the desire of the universities to have that in place. They don't want that, so that's why that is not there.
Is that something maybe we should put some pressure on people to look into?
I don't think you can pressure anybody to do anything. I think that you have to do what is best for you in the situation under the way that the rules and the circumstances are. But I don't think that you can apply pressure to people through talking about things publicly. Maybe you can do it through rules and committees and things of that nature. But um, attacking it that way, I don't think that would add any real value to the situation.
We've had some fun people on talk about outlandish recruiting stories. I think my best, by the way, is Brian Grauer was getting recruited by a coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Coach Rich Grauer's his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And they're sitting in a living room, and the coach is trying to convince Brian of ... right next to Coach Grauer. The audacity right next to the coach. He's trying to feed Brian some not truth. Do you have a great or an interesting, without naming names, outlandish recruiting story?
I'm not going to talk publicly about any recruiting stories. I'm gonna keep those. I'm gonna keep those to myself, out of respect for the game.
All right, fair enough. I like that. Switching gears again, talking about recruiting. Take as little or as long as you want. I know nothing about what I'm about to say, but Lutheran North has been successful getting people from other high schools to join that program. that has bent some people out of shape. Take as little or as much as you want.
Well, I don't think that that's an accurate statement.
Okay.
Okay. You said that Lutheran North has been successful getting other kids to join our program. The players have joined our program that wanted to be members of our school, and that's those and those parents' decisions. And like I told you earlier in the interview, people getting bent out of shape for decisions other people make is really not my thing. I don't really have any comment to it. Everybody's entitled to feel however they want to feel, and I'm okay with that. I'm not offended by it.
I'm going to throw myself under the bus and tell you that I graduated from Priory, who no longer somehow has figured out they just don't want to play you, and Burroughs. I think not wanting to throw my high school under the bus, is there a bigger compliment than somebody to say in mea culpa before they even show up?
Well, I think that everybody has to make decisions conducive to what their value system is, right? And so they decided that they didn't want to play us in football, and we okay with that. We wish those guys the best. I think that both coaches and administrations do a tremendous job with their program and their kids, and we wish those guys all the best and much success moving forward with their program.
You should run for governor, sir.
Do you think people will vote for me?
You won't get caught in a tongue twister. Okay. Do you remember Lindsay Collins?
No.
Okay, so Lindsay Collins was the wide receiver for Lutheran North back in my day, 86, 87, right?
Okay.
And Priory was already having problems with the fact that we were a good half second slower than everybody Lutheran North had on the team. Mm-hmm. Collins went to Illinois, and then he transferred to Missouri. Long story short, our senior year, what Lutheran North would do, because their coaches were smart, everybody on one side, Lindsay on the other side. Who are you going to guard? And throughout the entire game, we were 12 yards off Lindsay. We were up in Lindsay's face. I think he only had like 7 catches, but I think he averaged about 35 yards per catch. To me, that's a learning experience. And again, I'm not saying, what's the word I'm looking for? I think there's something to be learned by not forfeiting and going out and trying your best and playing the game. There he is, the governor, not saying anything. Hey, recently, a couple years ago, I apologize, I'm not a big high school football guy. I love football, I love sports. I'm just saying the Cardinal Ritter thing and the ineligible players.
No comment.
Okay. But I think we're going to save some time on this one. Transfer portal, good thing or bad thing?
I think it's a great thing. I think that kids should have the opportunity to go to school where they want and be able to maneuver freely without restrictions. But they also have to understand that when they get in the portal, that there is a possibility that they don't get picked up, and they have to be able to live with that too. And you have to be able to you have to have the choice. I think that the big thing that you're looking for is the ability and the right to choose, and that nobody should be able to make that decision for you with your life.
One of the things that you and Lorenzo talked about in your podcast is a lot of these transfer portal guys, it's really not their choice if you want to get behind the scenes.
Yeah, some of them, a lot of guys do get pushed out. You know, scholarships, when players go to college, they need to understand that scholarships are 1 year renewable. All right. And so your coach would have to renew your scholarship every year if he chooses to do so. And if he chooses not to, you'd have to look for another program and enter the portal.
Since you started, and again, you've been at North since 2015, unfair question, second one, by the way. What has changed the most in a good way?
And what you're talking at North?
At North, or just high school football, your experiences, better handling of the kids?
Well, I couldn't say at North because I don't know what went on prior to me getting here. It's been excellent since I've been here,
Right.
and it's been an unbelievable place. In terms of football in the area, I think that we at an all-time high of quality football. You have multiple national level kids. You have multiple teams that are competing in out-of-state games, and the exposure is as good as it's ever been. I think it's a great time for St. Louis high school football right now.
My wife works at the Smet. Sounds like you and Coach Steeples have a good connection going on.
Coach Steeples is doing an incredible job at the Smet. He's turned that program into a national contender, and I think that he will continue to do great things at the Smet.
You love all Division I coaches who are honest people. How's Drink doing at Mizzou?
Drink's doing a great job. He's really turning the University of Missouri in the right direction, and he's as good as it gets.
Now, I'm a Mizzou honk. I got it on my logo. What you just explained has exactly happened in some way, shape, or form with your current senior, Travian Ford. He signs with Mizzou, and in the last 2 weeks, they got a new DC and they got a new D line. So my fingers are crossed asking this question, and not specifically about Trevion because that'd be unfair. But okay, what now would happen in your perfect world? Guy commits, coaches change. What happens?
Well, I think you got to look at the head coach, right? Players have to be prepared for positional and coordinator changes just because of the nature of the business when opportunities present themselves or when changes are needed to be made on the staff. I think that the flexibility of what they should be able to do should be limited to when the head coach makes a decision to leave, because the head coach is going to, that's when the philosophy of the program as a whole changes. The philosophy, Drink's philosophy, is not going to change because the coordinator changed or because the position coach changed. The program would only change in the event that it was a head coaching change.
I'm not asking you what you like about Drink. I'm asking you what you like about head coaches. You seem to me to be the kind of person who can size somebody up pretty quick. What is it that you get a good vibe with when somebody first approaches you?
You just want them to be honest.
Right.
That's really it. You're just looking for honesty, honor, and integrity. And as long as you get that, then you can have a relationship and do business with one another.
Have you ever run into or got to meet the new defensive coordinator at Mizzou?
Not yet, but I'm sure that our paths across at some point soon.
Two-part question as we get ready to wrap this up, Coach. At Mesha, what's good about it? What's bad about it?
What's good about or bad
The
about
Missouri
who?
High School Association.
Everything is great, man. It's all good. They wonderful people. They do an incredible job. Uh, Top quality professionals in every aspect. They have a really hard job to do because you can't make everybody across the state happy. But I'm gonna tell you what, I've been to other states and they're doing as fine of a job with high school sports as any state in the country.
Is there anything being done at other states that you wish the state of Missouri would do?
Well, I don't think that it's relegated. I think that some of those things are governmental issues, right? That are outside of the authority of the state association, right? And so you can't really put, some of those things in the lap of a high school, the state association. I think it's easy when things don't go the way that people want it to go, to start pointing out what's right or wrong about the state association. But I think our guys are pretty on point with what the laws of Missouri and the standards that we have in our state allow.
All right. Well, we touched base this morning. You said, hey, what about 5 o'clock? I was like, yeah, let's make that happen. For people who like this podcast, you can listen to OT with Oliver wherever you get your podcasts. A lot of previous guests you might be interested in. After this is done, we're going to do a St. Louis 7 with Coach. You can see that on YouTube. I think I really liked, and I hope this is correct. Are you not going to punt this year?
I'm hoping that we don't. You know, I'm thinking about it. People think I'm crazy, but we potentially may not.
Hey, Coach, 4th and 30 from your 5.
I can't. I hope we're not in any situations like those. If we have 4th and 30 from the 5, you know, we may have to make some changes, man.
We got a mutual friend in Dean Christensen, and he was explaining to me, and again, I asked him, and he told me, yes, this is public knowledge. So, last question, take as long as you want. You've got something going on where other athletes can contact you with their parents, and you can help them through the process, and you can get them closer to getting scholarships. Is all this something we want to talk about a little bit? Because to me, it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I run a scouting service called I Want to Sign, and I do a lot of consulting with kids and parents and helping colleges identify players. And I've done that for a little while, and we've been able to help quite a few kids gain some exposure.
I want to sign.
I Want to Sign, WNNA, WANNA.
And it's across the country?
Yeah, across the country. I got guys from Florida, California, Texas, everywhere you can think of.
You know, we can implement a part of your program where maybe I interview them for like 5 minutes and they can show their media savvy and kind of include it into the package.
Hey, we might have to talk about that and discuss that. I'd be interested in that.
Coach, really appreciate the time. Hope you had a good time. Anything else I forgot to ask you or that you want to make sure people hear you talk about?
No, man, you did a great job with the interview, man. You did an outstanding job. I appreciate you having me on, and I look forward to continuing to build a relationship with you.
Nothing but best of luck. COVID, everything. Let's go have some fun, and play some football.
No doubt.